We're going to start some new material today. We're going to start talking about laws and ethics that relate to obviously the stuff that we've been covering with regard to morality. So some things that we need to really talk about. Number one are rules. What are rules? All right. So rules, laws are rules of conduct that are enacted by competent authority for the sake of the common good. Now, again, we're not going to be judgmental here. We're talking about competent authority, but we're talking about governments that create these laws, and these laws are out there for the good of mankind. So if we want to take this whole pandemic that we're dealing with, and if you've been watching Governor DeWine talk about the different things that they're trying to do for the good of all of Ohio, that's what we mean by the common good. I mean, Dr. Amy Acton is always talking about the fact that she has 11 million patients, and basically what she's talking about is the entire state of Ohio for which she's responsible. So when we're talking about this, these are rules that are put up there. And when we talk about competent authority, these are, in some cases, are elected officials. So the main thing is the common good. That's really how we have to look at this with regard to what a law is. Now, we're talking about civil laws. All right, civil laws are those laws that obviously are enacted by governments, whether it is city, county, state, or federal. Those are different levels that we have. And these rules of conduct are there to maintain the public order, maintain the peace, make sure that everything is running smoothly, things aren't getting out of control, people aren't being cheated. Try to eliminate as much lawlessness as possible. And again, it's the idea of they're there to try to provide justice. And again, we talked about just another reflection on the common good. And here's kind of the definition of the common good. It's that, so everybody can reach their fullest potential more fully and easily. That's what the common good is about. You try to set up situations where everybody can succeed, everybody can excel. Again, the main thing is here that good laws balance concern for the common good with concern for individual rights and individual welfare. So, you don't want to pass laws that are going to favor one group over the other. It's for everybody. Now, there's situations where it doesn't always work. Yes, and again, you've got governments that try to change that, but it's the idea they're concerned for the life of all. Right, we're talking about everybody. All right, so when we look at the essential elements of the common good, what does it mean? All right, respect. Right, to hold with esteem or honor. That's what that means. Justice, when it comes to what we're doing, the social well-being and the development of the group itself. They try to put things in place that are going to take care of everybody and make sure that they can succeed. And then obviously peace. So when you go back up here at the top where it talks about ensuring public order, that's what we're talking about. So when we're talking about the common good, all right, we're talking about the conditions, the social conditions that are good for all of the people involved. Laws, again, when we're talking about civil laws, is that they're there to give us access to basic rights. Basic rights. It's not superior rights, but it's basic rights that everybody has. Specific rights that are laid out in the different constitutions of different governments that exist, and the governments are there to protect those rights, right? Ensuring public order, bringing about peace, respect for the person, social well-being. And what laws also do, this is one of the things with laws, is that they're there to help us in our moral development. When you look at the laws that we have in our society, the laws are basically founded upon the Ten Commandments. Don't steal, don't kill, don't commit adultery. You have those basic fundamental rights that are laws that are there that, yes, they're religious, Yes, they are the foundation of our civil laws, but they're there for our moral development. Now, you can't have somebody that doesn't break a law, but they can be morally stunted. I mean, they're just not a good person, and there are people that are like that. They've never broken the law, but they're just not good people. And so that just because you obey the laws doesn't mean that you're a morally good person or you're acting in a morally mature way. And one of the other things that we need to really look at is that, and this kind of falls into this idea of just because something is legal, that doesn't make it right when it talks about our moral development. And when you look at our society, look at the history of society, and this can be, the global as well as the national and even to our local. There are things that are legal, but just because they're legal, it doesn't make them right. And so what you're going to see is, as this thing clicks through, it's going to click through on its own. You're going to see examples of things that either are legal today or were legal at some time. But just because they were legal, it doesn't mean that they were right. One example of that is abortion. That's going to be the first one, and I do want to warn you that some of these pictures that are going to come up are graphic, as we said when we were talking about respect for life. If you don't want to look at these pictures, look away. And so they're going to give a list. It's going to go automatically. So I'm not going to talk through this. I'm just going to let it run, and then when we get down to the next part, we will go from there. All right, so in dealing with some of those things that we saw there, some of them are legal. That doesn't mean that they're right. Like I said, abortion is legal. Slavery was legal at one time in the United States. Doesn't mean that it was right. Again, that goes against the idea of justice and respect. Abortion goes against the idea of respect for life. So when we look at things along those lines, right, in societies, in countries where the laws were unjust. So when you think about things that may have gone on in Iraq and Iran or even in Russia, that the church says that not only can we go against these laws, that we, because of our faith, because of our belief, because of our moral development, that there may be an obligation for us to speak out against these unjust laws. And the ways sometimes that people speak out against these laws is by what is known as civil disobedience. Now, civil disobedience, these are nonviolent acts. They go against these unjust laws. So this could be protested. Right? Martin Luther King was someone who was very much involved with civil disobedience and passive non-aggressive resistance. And you'll see there's a series of videos that'll be on Moodle that you can just take a look at. But one of the things that Martin Luther King even talks to the people that he's addressing is that he tells them, that if you're going to lash out, don't get in the line, don't get into protest, because it kind of defeats the whole purpose of what they're trying to do, because you're trying to bring attention to the fact that these are unjust laws, and there can be some consequences to it. I mean, Rosa Parks was arrested. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal, but I mean, it was almost like getting a parking ticket. But there are consequences, so there can be consequences to the things that you do. So sit-ins and protests and things like that. That can be this way, and there's going to be a series of videos that'll be on Moodle, like I said, that will show you Gandhi and how Gandhi, used passive non-aggressive resistance to try to change the world's view of what England was doing in India, and India eventually was able to gain their independence. The things that Martin Luther King did, which brought about the civil rights movements of the 1960s. You've also got the video there about the Selma, Alabama, in which there was a motion picture that was done about it. And I mean, this is the actual footage of the event. And when the American people saw this and the things that were being done, these were how laws were changed. Now, were there consequences? Yes, people were beaten. People were, they used fire hoses on them, things like that. So, the other thing that you've got to understand, though, is that even though you do this, doesn't mean the law is going to be changed. And there'll be a video, the last video that will be in that series of videos is about China. And these Chinese students were trying to gain more independence. They wanted more of a democratic government. The people wanted more of a freedom of speech and assembly and everything else, and you'll see that there were some consequences. I mean, there were people that died as a result of it. And the laws haven't changed. The laws haven't changed at all. China is still as restrictive as it once was. So, these are things that happen, and like I said, it doesn't mean that the laws are going to change, but it does allow the voice to be heard. Right? It doesn't allow to speak out. And the world was outraged when they saw what happened in China. Now, again, China just turned a blind eye to it because they're China. But this was something that did get out. Okay, so we're going to stop there, and this will allow you to kind of take a look at the videos that are available to you. One last thing though, just to kind of bring up about this is that when we look at, when we talk about the consequences, okay, that people that did something like Gandhi. I mean, Gandhi was assassinated for his role in what he did. We know that Martin Luther King was also assassinated. So when you look at a martyr, right, we talk about martyrs, we tend to think of it more in the idea that somebody that loses their life for a religious ideal, but these two individuals lost their lives for a basic moral principle. And so, those are individuals that can be, Gandhi can be considered a martyr for the Indian rights, and Martin Luther King can be seen as a martyr for civil rights and justice and equality. Okay, so we're going to stop there. We'll pick up tomorrow with the characteristics of laws. So again, as always, you guys need to stay safe and stay healthy. You guys have a good day and more to come.